My name is Emily Carter. I'm 38, and 2 weeks ago my husband buried me alive without even digging a grave. I woke up under hospital lights that hummed like insects. My throat felt like sandpaper, every inhale scraped, every exhale burned, ribs cinched in elastic bandages, skin raw where tape had been ripped and relaid. I tried to shift an inch and a hot wire ran from my sternum to my spine. It wasn't pain that asked permission, it was pain that announced itself and stayed. I thought the worst part of the night was behind me. It wasn't. The real injury sat in the chair that stayed empty. My husband, Ryan, never came. No missed calls, no hang in there. The nurses checked twice. I checked again, thumb shaking over a spiderweb of cracks on my phone screen. Silence, the kind that makes the room feel heavy. 2 days later, the door opened. He finally appeared. But he wasn't carrying flowers. He wasn't carrying my hand. He was carrying another woman's. On his finger, a wedding band that wasn't mine. I wanted to scream, but the scream snagged on the stitches in my temple and came out as air. "Ryan?" He didn't flinch. "You need rest, Emily. Don't make this harder than it already is." The young woman stepped forward, auburn hair, careful eyes. Her mouth opened like she'd been holding one sentence for years. "Oh my God, she's my..." Ryan squeezed her wrist. "Savannah, don't." Savannah. The name hit me first, then her age, then the shape of her mouth, familiar in a way that made my heart misstep. 19 years earlier, I signed a set of forms with a pen that shook in my 19-year-old hand. My parents called it the right decision. I called it a whole, a permanent one, a baby girl, placed in someone else's arms, while the social worker told me I was brave. Now that hole stood at the foot of my bed, fingers laced with my husband's. The air got thick. I could hear the monitors, each beep a hammer knocking time into my skull. My body did a small, stupid thing. It tried to sit up. Ribs screamed, my vision whited out, grainy, stinging like salt in an open eye. I pressed my palm against the bandage until a line of fire ran under my skin. I tasted metal. I held my breath because breathing hurt. I let it out because holding it hurt worse. For a minute, I was only a body. Heat, pain, static. Then the other kind of pain took over. The kind that writes sentences in your head with a knife. I had believed bitterness was Ryan's worst sin. I was wrong. That was the minute I stopped being a victim. The money, the lies, the tragic accident, those weren't storms we got caught in. Those were choices, his choices, and I was going to prove everyone. Because proof doesn't shout, it waits. And when the time is right, it buries the liar. If you've ever been underestimated, stay with me. Subscribe, because I'm about to show you exactly how truth cuts deeper than betrayal. And tell me in the comments, what's the one thing you would never let anyone steal from you? The first proof didn't knock. It slid into my inbox. Attempted access, blocked, mismatched notary seal. Less than 12 hours after the crash, someone tried to move $2 million out of the estate account my Aunt Margaret had left me. Someone used my name and a notary stamp that didn't exist anymore. The bank flagged it. Fraud risk high. I stared at the timestamp until the numbers swam. I could feel my pulse in my bandages. Not grief, not worry. Greed, efficient and punctual. Michael Harris, the attorney who handled Margaret's estate, stood at my bedside with a folder and a mouth that didn't waste words. He forged a death certificate and filed it with your building manager to access your lease. He's moving fast. So he already considers me dead, I said, voice dry as cardboard. He's not sloppy, Michael said. He's deliberate. We act now, or he corners you while you're still recovering. Another proof arrived wearing grey pixels. Sarah, my best friend since high school, bribed a security guard with old memories and fresh coffee. The flash drive she brought showed Ryan at 1:42 a.m, slipping into the hospital copy room with papers and haste. "Why here?" I asked, breath catching as I shifted. A hot thread ran along my ribs. "Because a hospital timestamp looks official," Sarah said. "He wanted the shine." The third proof didn't care how I felt when I saw it. Pharmacy log. 3 days before the crash, a sedative prescription in my name, picked up by Ryan Carter. Something cold moved through my bones. The room felt a degree colder, like the AC had crept up. I pressed the heel of my hand into the bandage until the pain sharpened enough to cut through the fog. This wasn't a misstep. It wasn't bad luck. It wasn't God or weather. It was intention. Courage doesn't always feel like steel. Sometimes it feels like your hands can't stop shaking. Mine didn't. My body trembled. My mind sharpened. The more it hurt to breathe, the clearer I got. "You need to document everything," Michael said. "Indiana is single-party consent. Recordings are admissible. Let him talk." I looked at the IV line in my arm, the bruises under the tape, the little red dot on my phone I'd just enabled. "Then let him think I'm broken," I said. "Let him think I'm confused. Every word he says in this room will bury him." Sarah half smiled. "You're setting a trap?" "No," I said. "I'm setting the truth free." I started acting like a person who deserved to live. That begins uglier than people think. It looks like lists. It looks like orders said quietly through clenched teeth. It looks like a body that's on fire directing a war anyway. "Triage first," I told Michael. "Freeze every account. I want fraud flags on anything with my name. Request the pharmacy's CCTV from the pickup window. Subpoena the chain if you have to." "Done," he said. "Sarah, get into our desktop at home. Look for changes in the last 30 days. Browser history, downloads, scans. If he scrubbed it, check the router logs. He's not a genius. He leaves traces." "On it," she said, already texting her cousin who did IT for a living. "And Michael, transactions," I said. 3 days before the crash to now. Anything that smells like a new account or a shell. I want the pattern." He nodded. "You'll have a report by tonight. Pain moves you slower, but it clarifies your lines. Between orders, I breathed in 4, held 4, breathed out 4, the way Nurse Jackson taught me at 3 a.m. when the room felt like a box. "Pain is loud," she'd said. "Make your breath louder." Sarah came back with a look that said she'd found something and wanted permission to be angry. History on Ryan's laptop includes searches for Indiana adoption records, how to find birth mother, fast notary online, and a forum thread about forging old-style seals. My mouth tasted like pennies. "He found the keepsake box," I said. "What box?" "When we moved in January," I said. "He unpacked the closet I never let anyone touch. Little yellow knit cap, hospital bracelet. A photo I shouldn't have kept but couldn't throw away. He looked at those the way some people look at winning lottery numbers." Sarah swallowed hard. "He used your grief like a map." Patricia, our mutual friend from college, sat on the edge of my bed with a plan. "Bait him," she said, "from my phone, something that wakes his paranoia faster than coffee." "Say it like this," I told her, voice steady because my breath was. "Emily's awake. She remembers everything. You better fix this now." Nurse Jackson helped me rehearse. She stood by the door and made me answer questions out loud until the words didn't shake. We practiced stillness, not because it hurt less, but because it looked weaker. The recorder slid under my pillow. My phone camera found a good angle. I added a fail-safe, voice activation on my watch, tucked under the sheet. Michael and security rehearsed the timing with me in whispers. My signal would be the stamp and the pills. clearly spoken on tape. I made one mistake. I imagined the moment without pain, fresh hair, clean clothes, a spine that didn't feel like glass. Reality didn't care. When the door burst open, I was a woman with stitches and a tremor. I was also ready. Ryan came in like the air belonged to him. Leather briefcase, expensive cologne, Savannah behind him with a face that didn't know where to land. "Emily, sweetheart," he said, sliding into sympathy like a suit. "Let's not drag this out. Sign these. I'll manage everything. You focus on getting better." I let my eyes go soft. I let my breath hitch. I let my hand shake when I reached for the stack. "Traumatic brain injury," I murmured, voice grazing the edges of a whimper. "Multiple surgeries. You recite my injuries like a grocery list, Ryan." He smiled, then sharpened. "Exactly. Which is why you shouldn't be thinking about numbers this big." He tapped the top sheet. "Trust me." Savannah touched his sleeve. "Maybe we should wait. She looks—" "No," he said too quick. "The sooner she signs, the safer everything is." He squinted, studying me. "Funny, you sound sharper than I expected." I let my breath hitch and my gaze blur. "My head keeps spinning, Ryan." He relaxed a fraction. I'd almost tipped my hand. My finger traced the header. I made my breath stutter. I let silence stretch until he leaned in. Then I said it like a thought I couldn't quite catch. "Funny thing, this notary seal, it was retired in 2018. Anyone still using it is committing fraud." His jaw flexed. His eyes snapped to the stamp. "You don't know what you're saying." "Fraud?" Savannah asked, looking at him like the word was a crack in glass. "What does she mean?" "She's confused," he said, smile moving but not reaching his eyes. "The doctors warned me. She'll imagine things. That happens with patients like this." I met Savannah's eyes, the same brown I used to see in a mirror I avoided at 19. "Then ask him about the sedatives," I said. 3 days before the crash. Prescription in my name. Picked up by Ryan Carter." Colour drained from her face. "Ryan, tell me that isn't true." He slammed the papers on the tray table, mask slipping. "You've always been dramatic, Emily. This is insane. You're not thinking straight." I clicked the failsafe. A gentle chime, swallowed by the room's hum. "Say that again," I said, letting calm flatten each word. "Say I'm not thinking straight while you push a widow's estate through with a dead stamp and stolen meds." His mouth curled. "Look at you," he hissed, voice low, vicious. "Bandages, stitches, drooling painkillers. You think a jury will side with a cripple over me. I'm the husband, I'm the provider. Without me, you're nothing." Savannah flinched like the words hit her, too. She pulled her phone with shaking hands. Her thumb moved fast, face lit by a tiny screen and a sudden need for truth. "You said you were in Chicago that week," she whispered. "Your photos, they're tagged 2 blocks from the pharmacy." She scrolled, stopped, inhaled like she'd been slapped. "There you are, outside the Walgreens with a white bag." "The timestamp on your photo matches the pickup time on the pharmacy log, down to the minute." "No, he loves me. He wouldn't—" Her words thinned to a thread as Ryan's voice on the recorder filled the room. Denial fought for a second, then broke. He lunged for her phone. She yanked it back. "Don't," she said, voice small but iron. Michael had already looped in hospital security and Detective Morrison. They waited in the hall for my signal, once the stamp and the pills were on record. The door opened. Michael stepped in first. 2 security officers. Detective Morrison. Ryan froze, then rearranged his face into outrage. "We believe her," Michael said, voice crisp. "And the Indiana State Police will too." The detective held up a printout. "Mr. Carter, pharmacy log shows you picked up sedatives under your wife's name 3 days before her crash. Signed your name. Do you deny it?" The pharmacist on duty certified the log and security footage, as part of chain of custody. Ryan's mouth opened and closed. No, I mean, this is being twisted. Savannah's voice cut the room. You told me she was dying. You told me she wanted you to handle everything. Her words broke. She stared at the recorder light, peeking from under my pillow. That's on, isn't it? It is, I said. My ribs ached. My voice didn't. Truth deserves a microphone. Ryan swung back to me, fury stripping the polish. You think anyone will believe you? The detective didn't bother answering. Sir, turn around. Hands behind your back. Cuffs clicked. It sounded like a door closing on a long hallway. Excellent choice, Ryan, I said, lifting my chin. Get yourself a lawyer, because proof doesn't shout, it waits. They took him out. He looked at me one last time like I'd taken something from him. I'd taken back my name. Savannah sat, then missed the chair and caught it with both hands. Tears found her, fast and messy. I let the silence hold. I counted 4 in, 4 hold, 4 out. Then I reached my bandaged hand across the blanket. You're not guilty for trusting, I said. He hunted that trust. He hunted both of us. But he doesn't get to write our story anymore. The next morning, the headlines ran like they'd been waiting. Local accountant arrested for inheritance fraud. Husband accused of faking death certificate. My phone buzzed with numbers I didn't save. I let Michael answer anything that had a microphone attached to it. I chose breathing and water and food that didn't taste like metal. Michael returned with charges stacked like folders. Fraud, forgery, attempted theft, he said. The DA's adding attempted homicide pending toxicology results. So he finally gets what he wanted, I said, letting the corner of my mouth move. Just not the way he planned. But justice didn't fix the ache in my ribs when I laughed. It didn't fix the older ache either, the one that had a name now, sitting in my chair, holding a styrofoam cup like it was breakable. I believed him, Savannah said quietly. He told me you were gone. He told me I was finally part of a family. I wanted it so badly I didn't question anything. I moved slow, finding her hand with mine. The skin was warm, impossibly familiar. You were a baby the last time I held you, I said, throat tightening. I recognized you the second you walked in. He didn't trick you because you were stupid. He tricked you because you're kind. She nodded, then shook her head, then laughed once without joy. Can I stay, just for a while? As long as you want, I said, and meant it with everything I had left. Healing isn't a montage. It's Tuesday at 2:17 a.m. when you sit upright because your ribs forgot how to be ribs. It's ice packs. It's Nurse Jackson teaching you to stand without holding your breath. It's Sarah putting neon sticky notes on the cabinet. Proof is power. Receipts don't lie. Because she doesn't know how else to help, and this is what love looks like from her. It's Savannah showing me a box of photos, and then flinching because photos are how she got fooled. I took one, a middle school picture with a haircut that should be illegal, and said, "This is courage." She rolled her eyes and smiled anyway. I kept building the file, every log, every screenshot, every line that told the story without my voice. I wanted a wall the DA could lean on and never worry it would fall. At the hearing, Ryan didn't wear cologne. Orange does that to a person. He stared at the table. The prosecutor pressed play. "Just sign this," his voice said across the courtroom. "Let me handle everything." You could feel the room turn. The jury didn't look at him after that. They looked at me like a person. That isn't nothing. When the gavel dropped, I didn't cheer. I didn't need to. Closures don't always roar. Sometimes they click. Sometimes they exhale. Outside the courthouse, the leaves were loud. Orange, red, gold. Savannah stood beside me, arms wrapped around herself like she wasn't sure she was allowed to be warm yet. "What happens now?" she asked. Now. The word tasted new. Margaret's letter sat in my purse, the one with handwriting that looked like a spider had learned discipline. Success requires sacrifice. Use it wisely. I've spent years transcribing other people's research, I said. Now I want to do my own, genetics, adoption studies. Not just papers, programs. I want a place where people who were left get found again. We called it second chances. Paperwork first, because justice loves paperwork. Then a website. Then an intake form that asked better questions than the ones I'd been asked at 19. We partnered with a clinic that understood trauma and a legal aid office that understood predators. We taught people how to keep receipts, the literal kind and the kind you keep in your chest. Not every moment was solemn. One night, Savannah tried to cook for us. The smoke alarm did its job like it had a grudge. The pan hissed, then smoked like a signal flare. The alarm shrieked. We scrambled, 2 women waving towels at the ceiling, coughing and laughing until our sides hurt. For the first time in years, my home sounded like relief, not slammed doors. On a Sunday afternoon, I stood in front of a mirror and let myself look. Stitches gone, bruises turning to watercolour, ribs still tender when I sneezed. A woman who had once agreed to be less than she was, if it kept the peace. No more, I said to the person looking back. It wasn't loud. It didn't have to be. Savannah came up behind me and leaned her head on my shoulder in a way that made time do a strange, kind thing. I kept something, she said, from that day at the hospital. She held up the photo, the one of me at 19 in a gown, hair stuck to my face, holding a bundle I loved so much it almost killed me. I want you to have it. I shook my head. We'll keep it, I said, together. People asked me if the money changed me. It didn't. It revealed other people. It revealed Ryan's hunger to control, to own. It revealed my capacity to plan a war from a bed. It revealed Savannah's refusal to stay lied to once the truth showed up. Money didn't save me. Proof did. Breath did. Women did. Nurses at 3 a.m. did. Friends with flash drives did. A daughter with eyes like mine did. Do I still hurt? Yes. Sometimes the weather moves in and my ribs answer. Sometimes I smell his cologne on a stranger and my body forgets where it is for a second. Scars are not shame. They're evidence of the wound and of the healing. I don't hide them. I don't show them off. I let them be what they are, receipts. One more truth. Betrayal doesn't whisper. It screams. In forged seals, in fake death certificates, in sweet talk that tastes like sugar until your tongue goes numb. Justice screams too, but different. Justice waits. Justice watches. Justice walks in with a detective and a pair of handcuffs exactly when a man thinks he's untouchable. I don't raise my voice. I raise receipts. We learned each other slowly. No forced hugs. No heavy scripts. We set boundaries and kept them. At second chances, Savannah took intake calls. I handled records. Side by side, not stacked on top of old hurts. If you're listening to this because somebody told you that you're crazy, dramatic, confused, too emotional, listen harder to the part of you that knows better. You don't need to beg. You don't need to shout. You need proof and breath. And a person who will sit in a plastic chair at 2 a.m. and hand you water when your hands won't stop shaking. Subscribe for more stories where betrayal meets its reckoning. Tell me in the comments, what's the one thing you will never let anyone take from you? For me, it's my name, my daughter, and my truth. No one, not even Ryan Carter, will ever take that again.